So how do you get drivers to slow down for something they almost never see when you can't get them to slow down for kids in school zones?
Jump out in front of them and find that work.
Not bad, not bad. Have you been hanging out with Sandy over lunch at all? So koalas and roads, well known as not a real good mix. In southeast Queensland between 1997 and 2011, an average of almost 300 koalas were killed by cars each year, enough to be having the most significant impact on population viability after habitat loss. Consideration of the issue of road wildlife mortality has steadily increased over time, with major road projects such as the Pacific Motor Highway increasingly including measures to reduce koala mortality. That includes this section of the highway between the Queensland border and Yelbin, just north of us here at Byron Bay, which was upgraded in the early 2000s. Underpasses, fauna land bridges and fencing were all integrated to this project in an attempt to address the impacts of road mortality and splitting the existing habitat. Whether this works or not is worthy of an entire conference or two of its own, but what is definitely overlooked are the impacts that result from the increased use of roads that are connected to the highway. Upgrading connectivity for people between the highway and the places they want to be generates significant additional impact. In this example on the Tweed Coast, constructing an interchange between this local road and the new highway increased traffic by more than 100%, an increase from around 1,000 vehicles a day to about 2,500. I suspect that in addition to the increase in volume, the change in the nature of travel from local rural road to part of a commuter network may also play a part in adding to the extent of the resulting problems. It doesn't really look to be too significant from a koala's perspective just in this immediate vicinity of the interchange, but once you get further east and west it starts to look a little different. The area identified here as koala zone, in the yellow line there, is 3 kilometres of road that bisects nature reserve, great habitat, and the mapped koala populations, which are marked up there as the red contour lines that you'll be familiar with, having seen it a few times today. With the road winding through highly significant vegetation, mostly endangered ecological community, and with koala food trees growing in the road verge in some locations, this section of road has been a long-standing problem. Interestingly, the problem bit isn't just for koalas. It's also recognised as a significant traffic black spot due to the winding alignment, large trees immediately adjacent to the road. So even in a fantasy scenario of having more dollars than you know what to do with, excluding koalas from the road if this fencing and providing alternative connectivity is not considered viable here. This is mainly due to the low-lying nature of the site and the extent of impact on habitat required to construct such measures. However, given that we were losing 1 to 2 koalas that we know of each year through this section, the do-nothing option was not acceptable. We decided to use our resources, community profile and momentum through Koala Connections to devise a response for this site, the development and implementation of which has also been integrated to the Tweed Koala Plan as Koala Roads. The key challenge we tackled here was pretty much the most difficult possible to change driver behaviour. Based on the similar premise that applies to humans and traffic accidents, together with anecdotal observations of koala road mortality at other locations, we worked on the assumption that lower traffic speed and greater driver awareness would combine to reduce the likelihood of koala road mortality. In order to best design the works and to provide us with data for monitoring and evaluation, we engaged the support of our traffic unit. Through the placement of traffic counters and the resulting data through the Metro Count system, we were able to better understand the road users and hence our audience. This monitoring has been continued quarterly from prior to works and identifies these 3 key factors. This data also supports the notion of natural selection, with 47 vehicles during that week ripping through there at speeds greater than 110 kilometres an hour. Based on peak travel times, we identified our main audience as commuters between the coastal towns and nearby business districts in Murwillumbah, Tweed Heads and the Gold Coast. We combined this information with consideration of reports, discussions and literature review to best apply the lessons learned in other locations and develop a package of actions for the site. Through a combination of physical measures, ongoing monitoring and community education, This section of Clothiers Creek Road has become our first koala road. The pavement treatments that are used here are based on similar that have been used in Queensland and are used to indicate the commencement of each end of the koala road, together with some reminder treatments along the route. The pavement treatments are an essential part of generating a local brand that's recognised by the community, with the potential to be applied in other relevant situations. The variable message signs aim to reduce sign fatigue by regularly changing. There are many and varied types of variable message signs, but all have the same premise: the ability to customise messages and for the messages to change according to a time schedule. The length and complexity of messages is determined by the sign design, essentially the number of pixels accommodated within the available space. We include information about local koala activity as much as possible on the signs. We're fortunate that several of our team use this road for commuting or are regularly active on nearby sites. This allows us to include information such as some of the examples presented here, noting current koala activity. The design of the signs was based on a similar versions used by Redlands Council in South East Queensland. But whilst the Redlands signs were mobile and solar powered, this site conveniently allowed us for installation of permanent grid powered signs. The messages are generally changed monthly or in response to any notable koala activity, and intentionally include a focus on positive messaging, including thanking drivers for looking out for koalas. These signs use a wireless connection and so require actual visitors to update the messages. The convenient location of these signs means it's not an overly problematic situation for us, but it's certainly a key issue for consideration in other applications. A few words of warning should you just consider embarking on a similar project. The technical specifications of these things are far removed from the world of koalas and tree plantings. You'll need a decent interpreter just to negotiate the specs. Similarly, there's a small number with big implications for installing electricity, especially in the road reserve. NMIs, National Meter Identifiers, may seem like an insignificant little number, but they're not, and require some decent workarounds in this application. Securing that magical NMI up there held up the whole project by months. GPS points, aerial photos, electricity pole numbers, all count for naught. A lot on plan is required, or computer says no. NMIs are clearly a special kind of thing. An obvious solution is to use a solar setup if the site suits. Also, be mindful this is a reasonably rapidly emerging field in the road industry, and the options for sign providers that have worked through some of these issues has increased significantly even since this project was initiated. There's also a considerable maintenance requirement involved, as the first of, for us, issues with installation, account connections, and managing the messages means there is an ongoing need to allocate time and energy. As mentioned earlier, community engagement was focused on our key user group, commuters. That includes this willing bunch who we engage through an innovative approach to working with local students. These are some of the Pottsville Beach Eco Warriors, a group of self-nominated environmental advocates. We worked with them to explore the issues of koala road mortality and then investigate the key messages, audience and delivery methods involved in addressing these issues. The resulting communication strategy developed by the students through this process was then fully implemented by them themselves. They delivered presentations to all their peers, they wrote articles for their school newsletter, they created posters, and importantly, they willingly committed to hassling their parents when driving through the koala zone. We supplemented this with general community education actions such as media releases and articles focused on the key message of safe driving being good for koalas and people. And so to some results. 18 months of quarterly traffic monitoring from prior to any actions through to January 2016 is displayed here. What this graph shows you in the green is the proportion of vehicles that are travelling at or below the speed limit, and above there in the red are those vehicles travelling above the speed limit. So there's a small increase in the percent of vehicles travelling at or below the speed limit upon installation of the pavement treatments and commencement of community education. Things stay pretty steady, which isn't such a bad outcome in itself, including beyond the VMS, the variable message sign installation, with an interesting notable increase in the most recent monitoring event. This is allegedly due to the effectiveness of Marina's messages, which were up that month. Of great interest and encouragement is the overall ongoing trend of reduction in proportion of vehicles travelling above the speed limit, 17%. There have been 2 confirmed koala incidents during the period of this project, the first in January 2015. That koala was revealed to have previously been attacked by a dog and likely suffering the effects when struck on the road. Unfortunately, another vehicle strike occurred on Anzac Day this year. Whilst this 10-year-old male survived the vehicle strike and was rescued by Sue Johnson and from Friends of Koala and Currumbin Wildlife Hospital volunteers, he since sadly died due to the injuries. So is it all worth it? At around $14,000 each, fully installed for the signs, another $12,000 for pavement treatments, quite a few extra grey hairs. Has it all been worth it? Definitely is my call. Encouraging behaviour change is one of the most difficult challenges and often avoided at all cost, or just not seen as within the scope of being an ecologist. This situation shows that there's clearly some times when it's our only option, and there's a real need for us to continue to improve our skills in this regard. Bringing together the science-based approach with the behaviour change challenge actually makes a lot of sense. By using data, monitoring and evaluation, we add veracity and transparency to our case. It also provides the content for the very necessary ongoing conversation required to maintain relevance with the community. All of this then feeds very neatly into having all the information required to apply a genuine adaptive management approach. In this situation, continued consideration of traffic monitoring data and koala incidents will directly inform our actions, both at this site and in other situations where the same or similar approach is proposed. Another critical outcome of value has been confirming that much like the uniqueness of sites and landholders we've already discussed today, every koala road requires a unique response. Possibly not necessarily what you want to hear if you're considering the opportunity to just replicate this project somewhere else, but important nonetheless. We're now working on another road section that's equally as critical for koala connectivity, but as a low speed traffic environment presents totally different issues and solutions. Developing the concept and generating the brand of koala roads and the use of koala zones also has massive potential throughout our management area and beyond. If you're old enough to remember before there were school zones and how the notion of them and the development of electronic signage, road markings and enforcement has evolved in recent years, you'll appreciate that there is significant potential for this to similarly evolve. Whilst we acknowledge some reasonable limitations, there is comparable potential for this application in other koala zones. All in all, an integrated, targeted approach to koala road mortality does present some direct and indirect benefits to koala conservation and recovery. The need to acknowledge that the challenges in dealing with humans more than koalas is critical. To achieve this, gaining a detailed understanding of your audience is essential to designing your response. Most importantly, be persistent, positive